Today, President Zelensky sat down with Kristen Welker on Meet the Press, and not only did he give Donald Trump an example of what real leadership looks like, but he actually kind of checked Donald Trump in the interview and made it clear that he is not going to allow Trump to decide the fate of his nation, the fate of his people, just because Donald wants to cozy up to his favorite dictator in Vladimir Putin. No, Zelensky laid out the stakes of what's going to happen going forward, and I am sure that it has Donald Trump more upset than he already is, and we are going to get into all of that. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way, and it really does mean a lot to me. Now let's get into this first clip of a great interview with President Zelensky.
Do you think President Trump is negotiating in good faith?
I hope so. I hope so. Yes, I count on it. I count on it very much.
Based on what you're saying about President Putin, do you think he's negotiating in good faith once talks begin?
Who?
Putin.
Putin? That he really...
Is he capable of negotiating in good faith? Is Putin capable of negotiating in good faith?
No. No, it's not about good faith. No. Yes, you just can block his motivation to put him in such strong circumstances when he can't begin the new reinvasion. But he wants. You'll see. Everybody will see.
We have talked a bit about the first foreign trip from our DUI hire and Pete Hegseth as Secretary of Defense. And we don't even need a name for J.D. Vance. I've already talked about how much I hate him. He's despicable on his own, even with a funny nickname, and how much they've embarrassed themselves. And it's sad that in the face of that, and we're going to get into Hegseth and Vance in a little bit, but in the face of that embarrassing trip and all Donald Trump has had to say about Ukraine recently, Zelensky has to sit there with a straight face and say that Donald Trump is negotiating in good faith, to say that the U.S. is commanding some level of respect from anyone around the world, not even just our allies, but our adversaries. To make anyone believe that anyone has any level of respect for Donald Trump is an unfortunate circumstance that President Zelensky is in this interview, because he clearly knows Donald Trump is not negotiating in good faith, and it's why he said this right here.
Army.
Can Ukraine survive without U.S. military support?
Probably it will be very, very, very difficult. And of course, in all the difficult situations, you have a chance, but we will have low chance to survive without support of the United States.
Your concern being without U.S. military support, Ukraine would be vulnerable to another attack by Russia in another few years. Is that your concern?
Yes, I think this can be. This is really what he wants. He wants pause, prepare, trained, take off some sanctions.
President Zelensky, as he should, is very clearly worried about what will happen if the U.S. decides it will withdraw its support from Ukraine. And of course it should be. And it's especially ridiculous considering that what we send to Ukraine in the form of aid is military equipment we can't use and they actually need. It's not these giant blank checks that the Republicans would have you believe are being shipped over there every single day. It's military equipment we're not using anymore. It's still creating jobs in the U.S. It's actually been successful for a lot of industrial towns. But it's hilarious. It's not even hilarious. It's both funny and not. That there's this talk of Greenland as a potential strategic move for us, as J.D. Vance talks about. Why would we spend money? Why would we get Greenland to protect us from Russia when we can just invest in our ally in Ukraine? I don't know. It's just like how much of a joke these people are. But clearly, Zelensky does understand how much of a joke we are. Because like I said, he fired back at Donald Trump, saying this right here.
Thing that President Trump said this week. He did not say yes when he was asked if he sees Ukraine as an equal member in the peace process. He did say later that Ukraine would have a seat at the table. Have you been given any assurances that Ukraine will have an equal seat at the negotiating table?
So I will never accept any decisions between the United States and Russia about Ukraine. Never. And our people, never. And our adults and children and everybody. It can't be so. This is the war in Ukraine against us, and it's our human losses. And we are thankful for all the support, unity between USA, in USA, around Ukraine support, bipartisan unity, bipartisan support. We're thankful for all of this, but there is no any leader in the world who can really make a deal with Putin without us, about us.
Now, we talked about in a previous video how Zelensky called out Donald Trump for very clearly prioritizing Putin over our ally in Ukraine, that he was taking his calls first. So Zelensky is already coming in with the context of that. And the very clear-sighted answer of, no, we're not going to accept these decisions. No, we're not going to let Donald Trump bully us. No, we're not going to let Putin sway Donald's feelings into taking our country and then Europe, which we're going to get into in just a second, I think is incredibly commendable and shows why Zelensky is an actual leader and Donald Trump, of course, is not. And I think he does understand that you have to bring some level of strength to the table. I hate trying to do the Trump psychology here, but he does at least understand strength, something that he can observe and care about. And no, I think it's important that that is the position that Zelensky is coming from, especially in the face of the larger issue that we do face and why Donald Trump actually might be able to break away from his love of Putin and negotiate to help Ukraine. But that's what is driving this clip right here.
The risk that Russia will occupy Europe is 100%.
If the United States pulls out of NATO,
Yes.
Russia will occupy Europe.
Yes, so not all the Europe. They will begin from those countries, as I said, who are big our friends, but small countries who've been in the USSR and the Soviet Union. They will begin, and we'll see what will be the answer. But Europe will not answer because they don't have. They will begin to defend itself. Each country defend itself, and at this moment. So Russia will get all the successes with all the territories they will want. I don't know, they will want 30% of Europe, 50, I don't know, nobody knows. But they will have this possibility.
Again, I don't want to do the psychology of Trump here, but I think he does understand to some degree that if he allows Putin to take Ukraine and then march forward into Europe, he will be remembered as the president who allowed that to happen, that he will be viewed as weak on the world stage for letting Putin eat his lunch. I think he does understand that. As much as he loves him and loves cozying up to his dictators, and I could be wrong here. I'm really hoping I'm not for the security of Ukraine and the world, but I hope that he does have some understanding of how he will be viewed as a loser. And this is the pressure, unfortunately, that we have to put on Donald Trump. And that's the Zelensky mind game, why it's always so great to see the way that he interacts with Trump. It's unfortunate that he has to be playing these mind games, but he clearly understands how to work him. The fact that we have a president who has to be worked and kind of massaged in the language with our allies is disgusting, but at least Zelensky knows how to play the game. At least he does, in the face of the embarrassment that's been the past couple of days through Pete Hegseth and J.D. Vance. Rachel Maddow talked a little bit about that, and I want to check some of that right here.
Talk all we want about values. Values are important. But you can't shoot values. You can't shoot flags, and you can't shoot strong speeches.
You can't, shoot with them? or you can't shoot at them? You can't shoot. Are we sure he's not talking about like shots? You know what I mean? U.S. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth at a meeting of the NATO defense ministers this week. I think that was supposed to sound tough, came off a little more like something your least favorite uncle posts on Facebook next to a picture of an assault rifle and like 9 empty beer cans. But Secretary Hegseth began this trip by bewildering not just our allies, but also a lot of people in Washington when he inexplicably blurted out that any peace deal in the Russia-Ukraine war would have to include Ukraine giving up its territory and abandoning its bid to join NATO. That would imply that the peace talks have already happened and Ukraine already had to give everything up. Why would they talk? We mentioned last night that Secretary Hegseth has now tried to walk those comments back, but I think it is worth you hearing exactly how he started his remarks when he was trying to take back what he said the other day.
As it pertains to NATO membership not being realistic outcome for negotiations, that's something that was stated as part of my remarks here, as part of the coordination with how we're executing these ongoing negotiations.
That was, can you say that again? Can we diagram that sentence? That's something that was stated as part of my remarks. It's like he asked ChatGPT to come up with the most passive voice way to say, you know what, I need to take back that dumb thing I said. It's not just our allies abroad who reacted negatively to Pete Hegseth's comments. After Hegseth made those comments, the Republican chairman of the Senate Armed Services Committee, Senator Roger Wicker, responded by saying, quote, "I'd prefer we don't give away negotiating positions before we actually get started." After Hegseth then tried to take it back, walk back what he'd said and say he didn't really mean it, Senator Wicker then responded again, saying, quote, "He made a rookie mistake. I don't know who wrote the speech. It's the kind of thing Tucker Carlson could have written. And, quote, Carlson is a fool," said the senator.
I already did my JD rant, so I don't need to do it again. There was a video of Pete Hegseth that made it look like he was drinking bourbon on stage giving a speech. I don't know if that was the camera. I don't know if that was like he was having some Coke, Pepsi. I don't know. But you talking about an embarrassment on the national stage, it's these guys. And it's unfortunate, especially in the face of real conflict and decisions that matter and that will impact the world for decades to come. And if there is one thing that we can do is apply pressure to these people, and it's why we're going to be talking about this stuff every single day on the show. And if you want to support that, as always, of course, you can hit that subscribe button. You can leave a like on this video. And if you stuck around to the end, you can drop a blue heart in the comments. Until next time, I'll see you soon.